What's up guys, today we're going to be going over the Trials of Osiris weapons that you can get this season. This season they completely reworked how Trials will work, and if you're like me, you're probably jumping in for the first time in multiple seasons. So what Trials weapons are worth your time as a PvE player? That is what we're going to be going over in this video. First we'll be going over some of the key points of the rework. We won't be breaking down every single little detail, but enough to get the big picture. Then we'll be going over the Trials weapons. So first looking at how it works now, he now has reputation just like the Crucible and Vanguard and Gambit, where you can buy stuff from him and eventually reset it at rank 16. So one, how do you rank up this vendor? Well, you simply just play Trials of Osiris. The more round wins you have per game, the more rep you'll get, and the higher the win total on your card, the more rep you'll get also, I think all the way up to 7 wins. And the Trials cards are no longer 3 wins and you're out, they're just forever. They're either flawless or not. So no matter how long it takes you to get wins or anything like that, you just keep playing over and over again. If you want to get the max rep per game, you will eventually get to 7 wins on a card and just keep playing on that single card. Also, wins on a 7-win card will give a chance of dropping Umbrals from the game. And the only other way to get Umbrals, it seems, will be from ranking up this vendor. So every single time you rank up this vendor, you'll get an Umbral. I'm calling them Umbral engrams or Trials engrams, but they work very similar to Umbrals. And if you just open it up right off the bat, you will get randomly one of any of the items from Trials. Doesn't matter if you have it yet or not, so that's gonna be a good way to unlock new stuff. But once you already have unlocked something on your account, you can then focus it with one of these down here. And they cost a lot of legendary shards, but it's gonna be worthwhile to get exactly what you want. So pretty much the loop is you just jump in Trials and you play. The better you do, the more rep you'll get. And every single time you rank up, you'll get an engram. Then you can just turn that in randomly, or you can focus it once you have said item unlocked. I'll definitely link the entire post down below because I'm skipping over a lot of small details. So what weapons this season are worth your time as a PvE player? First off, it's not very clear if these will be the only 6 weapons that you can get this season, or these are the only ones that you can focus into, or if these will rotate each week or even every season. But in total, there's 11 Trials of Osiris weapons. So first looking at the new one, Reed's Regret, which is the Stasis Linear Fusion Rifle. And for this, I'm on d2gunsmith.com because I can put on mods and see how it will affect the weapon. And this will be the one I'll be going for first and trying to get a bunch of rolls on it to make a video as soon as possible, because it has a lot of really cool perks. One, it has Clown Cartridge on the left, which is really good, but even more importantly, it's the first linear with triple tap, which means it should extend the magazine, and every single bullet that you get will be from thin air, so it should extend the total damage output of the weapon by quite a bit. And then with that, you can pair that with Harmony, which would be really good for some builds I have in mind. Then you have Vorpal, which is going to be a 15% buff, which will be very solid. Firing Line, depending on exactly how it works, might be better than Vorpal or might be pretty close. It just depends. I've heard Firing Line is not quite the 20% like it should be. Then you also have things like Headstone and Adagio, which might be pretty cool, but overall, maybe not like the meta picks. So what's going to be really cool about this weapon is, as you see, the base magazine is 6, which is already really cool for triple tap. That should allow you to shoot, off the top of my head, I think 9 shots. But what you can do is if you get enhanced battery, then also backup mag on it, it'll go to 7. With a 7 mag with triple tap, that means you should be able to shoot off 10 in a row, which means 3 bullets of free ammo every single magazine, which is going to be really good for DPS and total damage output. So I'm definitely going to be trying to get a video up on this as soon as possible. Next up is the Tomorrow's Answer, which is the rocket launcher. It looks like unfortunately a lot of the good perks have been sunset on it. So looking at the perks it has now, I mean, there's not too much. You have Lasting Impression, which will be the best damage perk. Then you have Tracking, Ambitious, Auto-Loading, or even Impulse. So overall, nothing too special. It's pretty much just a regular rocket launcher, and there's all kinds of really good ones in the game already. I'm sure a lot of you already have. Next up is the Sola Scar, which is the Solar Caster Frame Sword, which I've already made a video on when it first came out. Honestly, it wasn't anything too crazy. Both of the casters in this game aren't that strong, but overall you could get Relentless Strikes, then Vorpal, or even Chain Reaction, which is pretty cool for some builds, but once again, it wasn't anything too crazy. Next up is the Eye of Soul Sniper Rifle, which is a 90 RPM, and once again, it looks like they got rid of a few perks on the weapon, so you can't get field prep anymore, it doesn't seem. So honestly, this sniper isn't that good anymore. It has Surplus, which is kind of cool. Then you could pair it with Vorpal or even High Impact Reserves, both are pretty similar, and you could make that a 7 magazine. But I think there's just better snipers in the game, so I'm not quite sure this one will be worth your time. Next up, we have the Exile's Curse, which is the fusion rifle. It's a 1000 RPM, which I'm not a huge fan of, but all fusions this season are extremely good. So looking at the perks it has, once again, a lot of the perks were retired. So looking at what we have now, you could get Vorpal, then maybe Slide Shot would be the best in PvE, nothing too special in the left slot. So this is seeming to be more of a PvP fusion rifle, which isn't that surprising. So something you could go for, but overall I think there's better options in the game. The shotgun from Trials of Osirs is the Astral Horizon, which is a 55 RPM. And once again, like a few of the other weapons we've talked about so far, there are all kinds of shotguns in the game you can get, and shotguns aren't that great in PvE in the first place. But looking at what you could get Left from Gold or Autoloading, which are both very good on shotgun. Then we have Demo and Trench Barrel, which aren't like the best options. Most of the time, shotguns in PvE are good for 1-2 punch, which was retired. So once again, this one really isn't worth your time as a PvE player. Next up, we have the Void SMG from Trials of Osirs, which is a 600 RPM. And fitting in with the theme of the previous weapons, there aren't too many good PvE perks on the weapon. Most of the perks here are for stability or range, so really nothing to talk about for PvE. Then the right, once again, nothing too crazy. You have Harmony, which isn't necessarily great on your primary weapon. That is more of like a special perk. Then you could use Kill Clip or Adrenaline Junkie, which are not the best damage perks for a weapon. So once again, as a PvE player, I think there's better SMGs in the game that are more worth your time. Trials also offers a Solar 120 hand cannon, and 120s aren't great in PvE, but hand cannons in general got a good buff this season, so they're feeling really strong. And looking at the perks on this one, there are a lot of really good perks. I think the best overall would be Subsistence. You pretty much would never have to reload, but you also have Outlaw or Rapid Hit. Both would be very solid options. Then in the right column, you have Rampage or One for All, both of which would be really good depending on the activity. One for All would be really good for in-game content. The Pulse Rifle from Trials is the Messenger, which is a 340. And just like the previous weapon, there are some pretty good perks. You have Rapid Hit or Outlaw for PvE. Then right, you have One for All, Desperado, or even Kill Clip or Frenzy. So a bunch of really good damage perks to choose from. And then also a reload perk on the left. So if you're looking for a Pulse Rifle in PvE, this one could be pretty solid. Next up is the Scholar, which is a 150 RPM scout rifle. I'm not a huge fan of 150s, more of a fan of 200s or 260s, but looking at the perks, once again, there's not really too much to speak about in the left column, no reload perks or anything like that. On the right, you have Vorpal, which is kind of cool, but once again, you definitely want a reload perk and a damage perk on the right, and you don't have either of those on this weapon, so definitely not worth your time. The final weapon will be the 600 RPM Solar AR, the Summoner. And this one actually comes with two pretty cool rolls. In the left, you want Overflow, which will give it a huge magazine. I think it's like 81 or something like that. Then you have Rampage or Dragonfly. Both are extremely good, and 600 RPM ARs are very strong in PvE. So overall, this is definitely a really good AR, and I already have both of the rolls I mentioned, and they're both extremely good. And that is all 11 of the Trials of Osiris weapons in Destiny 2. I think the most important one by far to get as a PvE player will be this one right here, the Reed's Regret. Because not only are linear fusions definitely meta this season, it will come with a perk roll that is not possible on any other weapon in the game, which should make it one of the top DPS choices, and also really good for sustained damage output. So I'm definitely going to be trying to get a video out on that as soon as possible. And that is pretty much my list for what Trials weapons are worth your time and what rolls to be looking for. Anyways, that's going to be it for the video. Thanks for watching. Catch you guys next time.